Hits and wagers. Welcome to Gameweek 36 in the Premier League. 6 games, 6 bets. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen. Chris, we have 3 more game weeks left in the Premier League, and that means there's a lot of games that don't mean anything, but we're still going to bet on them because we are people. We are of the people, by the people, for the people. Chris, happy Friday. Welcome to the weekend. Enjoy this beautiful weather that I'm finally getting out here.
Nice. We love to hear that you're getting a little sunshine. Those springs can last pretty long in Michigan. But big. We're back. It's a tricky part of the season. Adam and I were just saying, some teams, there's about 1/4 of the league has something still to play for. Coming off a couple big Champions League semifinals during the week. We're going to make some tricky bets. You're thawed out, if you from the winter. It's a nice day out here in the Pacific Northwest. And
I'm thawed out.
Yeah, are you thawed out or are you thawed out?
So, Mother's Day weekend, tulip time. We're flying over here.
Yeah. You got your little Dutch clogs ready to go.
You're gonna start dancing out in the streets. It's done.
Yep. Yeah. So we got some big games. We got some little games. We got some big games. We got some games that don't matter this weekend, but
don't make sense.
Yeah, and don't make sense. And I'm ready to dig into it.
Let's do it. Here's a look at the table. Liverpool. A disappointing Liverpool season. They're only 15 points. At the top. Tough on them. Chris will be giving a bet on that game. I gave it to him because I did not want to provide a bet for that one. And that one's all his. But ROTO15, that's 15% off a RotoWire subscription. If you are not subscribed, the first game, Chris, you're talking one of the games that actually means a little bit. Means a lot for Aston Villa. And depends how you feel about Bournemouth's attitude toward playing in Europa Conference League. They still have a chance for that. So Bournemouth plus 140 to win at home. Aston Villa plus 175. Draws plus 275. So what came out this week is both teams pretty relevant injuries. Dango Otara going to be out for the season. He's been, one of their guys in the attack that's been doing pretty well lately. He joins Ryan Christie on the sideline. And then Youri Tielemans, guy who basically hasn't missed any games, any minutes for Aston Villa all season. He's out for the rest of the season with the muscle injury. So a couple changes in the lineup. Arguably, Youri Tielemans being out is probably a bigger factor because of what he does in the midfield and how many games he's played for them. They haven't really had to play without him. So how are your feelings towards Villa, who are on the outside looking in for that final Champions League spot?
Yeah, it's a must-win for Villa. They're what are they, 7th right now, sitting on 60 points. There's, I guess, 6 teams all within about 6 points there, 7 points. So this is a must-win for them for sure. Bournemouth sitting in 8th place, still they're 7 points back, so don't really have a chance at the Champions League. Do have a chance at Europa Conference League if they can keep things going here. They are at home, which it's tough to go down to the South Coast and pull points, and especially all 3 points. This one, the Youri Tielemans one, is a huge miss for Villa, as he's I think he started almost every game, played a ton of minutes. They'll just try to probably go McGinn and Onana, and then have Morgan Rogers. I guess
Boubacar.
Boubacar will come in and play there. So a little bit of a switch up there. Side note, but it is that part in the season, if you're a RotoWire writer and you write notes where you get to the press conference and there's 3 games left, and this guy's got picked up a hamstring knock, out for the season. And it's such an aggressive way to that the manager, we won't see him the rest of the season. He's going to be off for 2 weeks. It's just funny to write those notes, and you're oh, it's actually
those are the best ones. You don't got to worry about them again.
Yeah, the return date is not, questionable. It's just like out, like until you have some international stuff. So it's that time of the season for the RotoWire note writers and for us here. But anyways, I looked at just because Aston Villa must win this game to like have a chance in the last two games
They must win. Looking at the table here.
I mean, they're down 3 points out of that Champions League spot.
3 back at Chelsea and Newcastle. Both they play each other this weekend. And then Villa's last games are against Tottenham and Manchester United, who are basically only worried about the Europa League final now. So they're going to get a B squad, Tottenham and Man United in their final 2 games. So I think this is probably their most difficult one. I think if they get a point here and 7 the rest of the way to, finish at 67, I think that will be, maybe not guaranteed, but at least competitive with these teams. I wouldn't say, it's guaranteeing top 5, but they'll be there, I think.
100%. I get what you're saying with United and Tottenham there, but that's why this one feels like such a must win, because then you can kind of, you'd like to bank 9 points there, which makes this one very big. I initially looked at because of that, I initially looked at like the Villa money line is plus 175. I was like, yeah, Bournemouth's a tough team. They've played everyone pretty tough all season. I looked at over just like a 2-goal for performance from Aston Villa. The over 1.5 for them was very intriguing at plus 105. If it was like plus 150, I probably would have been all over it. But I skipped that. And then finally I was like, this feels like this could be like a pretty tight game where it was like 2-0 or 1-0. So I did think about the under 2.5. That's actually plus 135. Again, was looking for something a little bit better. I finally just like looked and like, looked at the RotoWire cheat sheet. Going to end up on a corners bet here just because I feel like Villa's going to have to press forward a little bit. So like say best case scenario here for this bet is Bournemouth grabs a goal early, but even, a similarly good scenario here is like, this is just like a 0-0 draw for a long time or a 1-1 draw. And Villa are like, all right, we got to go win this game, get 3 points. They're pushing forward. I got over 5.5, over 5.5 corners for Aston Villa. It's plus 120. I just think they're going to have to be on their front foot here. Like Bournemouth are, while playing at home, I think that Villa has enough attacking pieces where they'll be able to kind of push out and push this Bournemouth side, and Bournemouth are going to want to play on the counter and try to hit them that way. And so I think that kind of leads me to believe that there will be a bit more corners for Aston Villa here.
Yeah, I think I can get behind this bet. I think, an early Bournemouth goal will also benefit plenty, but I think the way that these teams kind of play, it leads to this being back and forth. Bournemouth are going to press. There's going to be turnovers. There's going to be a lot of running. Aston Villa is going to turn the ball over, and then Bournemouth aren't going to be able to, they're not going to succeed in their press, and that's going to lead to some breaks for Aston Villa kind of thing. So I think it's going to be a little back and forth. Looked at last time they played, it was 16 total corners, which kind of leads to this and how this game is going to go. So yeah, I can get with this over 5.5 corners plus 120. And I think also, no Tielemans also kind of just changes up. Maybe the cohesion isn't there for Aston Villa as well. So maybe, that leads to even more freneticity.
Frenet. I don't even know how to re-say that word.
Freneticness.
Is it freneticness?
Freneticness. I don't know. That's a tough one. We do not have an answer.
We hit over half on words made up on this podcast.
Frenetic plural. Let's look this up. Just frenetics. I mean, I don't know. Energy. We'll call it energy.
Of the match.
The energy of the match.
Okay,
that's what we'll call it.
You making up a word was over a half here was
that just hit in the first 10 minutes of the show. So
yeah.
Shouts to the overtakers on that one. Speaking of overs, we have the Brentford at Ipswich Town match. Ipswich Town plus 450. The odds have actually changed in this one. So look back about a little more than a week. Ipswich were plus 295. Now they're plus 450. Brentford were minus 125. Now they're minus 175. I think this has mostly to do with Brentford actually having something to play for. So we mentioned Bournemouth. The 8th place in the table now means something because Actually, yeah, it's still actually no. We need Chelsea to win. What is it? Shoot. I knew what it was. It's if Manchester City win the FA Cup and then it goes down a level, right? So 8th place is the Conference League. Is that what it is? And then if Chelsea win Europa Conference League, something like that. Maybe the Europa League has nothing to do with it between Man United and Tottenham. Either way, there is a chance eighth place gets a Europa Conference League spot. So Bournemouth is 53 points, Brentford 52, Brighton 52, Fulham 51. So I think that's why the odds have moved like this, because Brentford still have a shot for 8th place. But for this game, Brentford coming off a 4-3 win, Ipswich coming off a 2-2 result. Ipswich kind of feisty. It seems like all these matches, one half they look lost, they don't know what they're doing. The other half, they outplay the team randomly, score some goals. I think there's going to be goals in this game. I didn't even look at the prior result between these teams before I made this bet. Looked at the prior result, ended up being 4-3. And I almost considered over 4.5. If you want to go crazy, over 5.5. I think there's going to be goals in this one. I think Brentford are going to get a lot of good opportunities against this back line. They're rolling pretty well. Everyone's basically healthy for Brentford, and Ipswich got some guys back. Delap is starting again. Hutchinson starting again. And Brentford's defense isn't, I don't want to say isn't elite by any means. And I think we're going to get goals in this game. So a simple bet, a simple single game parlay here. Both teams to score over 3.5 goals, plus 156 odds. Yeah, let's go over. I think we're looking at both teams to score. Maybe both teams to score at least 2 goals. I think we're looking at something like that. Maybe we'll get a 3-1. Maybe we get a 3-2. Maybe higher. We'll see.
This is interesting because it's the over 3.5 goals. Like you're thinking we're going to see a great game here, but also because there's like 3 other games that are more important, probably, or more interesting with bigger clubs in this game. But this might be the pick of the litter in terms of what to watch. Because Brentford score a ton of goals and Ipswich are just like frenetic as heck.
I mean, if Aston Villa are beating Bournemouth, I guess that's the later game. Okay, I guess not going to have that situation, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Fulham in that battle, Brighton. I guess in these early Saturday range, there is that 8th place to play for. It's just like it just feels like an afterthought. Even though these 4 teams are still battling for 8th place, I think everyone is kind of like, it's the Europa Conference League. Chelsea just beat Djurgården in the semifinals. Like, I think the clubs maybe care about playing UEFA, getting that extra money in Conference League, but maybe the fans don't really care too much about that. I think that's kind of my feeling on the whole situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. By the way, it's so unclear that on how many teams are gonna qualify for Europe that the ESPN has this massive article about all of the scenarios for it. So it's they'll have top 5 and then the Europa League winners between Tottenham and Man United, and then Europa Conference League. We'll see if Chelsea wins that and then automatically qualifies for Europa League or Champions League. So there's a lot of play here, and none of it's really confirmed.
Okay. So the Conference League winner gets into the Europa League. Okay. Yes. So yeah, it's basically if Man City win the FA Cup, they get Champions League. So
they would get Man City would get Champions League based on the table, but right. If they win the FA Cup, they'd get Europa League. Not Champions League.
Europa. Oh, okay. I think it would be Chelsea would have to finish outside of the top 5 and then win Conference League for 8th place to mean something. I think that's what it is, right? Does that make sense?
I think that 8th will still get Conference League because then you have the League Cup, which Newcastle won, and they'll probably finish in the League Cup winners go to the Conference League. But Newcastle won it, and they're in the Champions League spots. So they'll probably keep that, and then they'll have to figure out what to do with the Conference League spot. So I think it's 8th. It's so confusing. I'm like, looked at this a long time
I
ago.
knew what it was, and then when I started saying it, I was like, "Wait, am I right?" We'll figure this. This will all be settled in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, so the top 10 would be if they could potentially get 10. The top 6, Chelsea in 7th as Conference League winners. 8th, Crystal Palace as FA Cup winners. Man United, Tottenham as Europa League winners.
Okay. Okay. So 8th place probably will mean something.
Yes, I think so. I think that's safe to say. 9th and 10th is up for debate.
Yeah. All right. 9th and 10th. That's pretty funny. Speaking of games that mean something, arguably the biggest game with the most in play this weekend, Chris is tasked with giving us a best bet. Newcastle plus 120 to win at home. Chelsea plus 210. Chelsea did pretty much rotated their entire side Thursday against Djurgården. They were already up 4-1 or whatever it was, I think. So they're good to go, but they are still underdogs, plus 210, coming off a convincing win against Liverpool last week, and Newcastle coming off a non-convincing 1-1 draw against Brighton. So Newcastle, these teams are level basically in every aspect you can think about. Goal differential, points, underlying stats, all of it are all pretty level. So does that mean there's going to be a winner, or are we just going to draw here for plus 270?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a winner. You look back at their past 5 matchups here, and the home team has won each of those 5 matches. 2 of those did come in the EFL Cup, where Newcastle actually beat Chelsea earlier in the season, and then last year in 2023, Chelsea beat Newcastle at home in extra time and on PKs. So a little bit of nuance there, but the home team certainly has had the historical upper hand here. And then you just consider that St. James Park is one of the toughest places to play and win in the league. And I'm just going to go. This is a pretty basic bet, but I like Newcastle plus 120. I think, despite how even they are from points, goal difference, all that good stuff, I just think Newcastle might be a better team, and they're kind of built for it a little bit more. I think the Conference League or the EFL Cup win will kind of push them on here to bigger glory for the season. So I like Newcastle money line plus 120.
A basic best bet from a business end, boy. Newcastle money line plus 120. Yeah, I agree with that. I think if you throw out Chelsea's win against a drunk and rotated Liverpool side last week, I think it'd be I don't know if it'd be, it was plus 100. So yeah, I guess the odds probably would be closer to plus 100 for Newcastle to win. I think that game against Liverpool is maybe throwing some people off because Chelsea just haven't been as good in the last couple months. Newcastle have been pretty good. They haven't really seen a drop in play without Joelinton, with Willock going in the midfield. They haven't really seen too much of a drop. They allowed an early goal against Brighton last week and then managed a late PK, but they were pushing the majority of that game. So, but yeah, playing at St. James's Park here, arguably the better team in form, maybe not overall, but with the way that they're playing, I think, yeah, this was going to be one of them, plus 120. I like Newcastle money line. I'd also, if you wanted a safer look, something like Newcastle double chance, under 1.5 goals first half, under 3.5 goals for the game, or just I probably like under 2.5 for the game as well. I think that's plus 135, something like that. Probably a little lower scoring. Is that kind of where your head's at?
Yeah, I think I would definitely go lower scoring. I don't think we're going to see over 3 goals would be kind of a stretch. I don't know. Yeah, I think it'd be lower. I will say last few games there've been a few goals, but I think this is a different. So it'll be much more cagey.
Very cagey. Yeah, a lot of these Chelsea games have been lower scoring outside of that Liverpool one, which kind of got a little out of hand late. But yeah, they have a lot of these 1-0 games against 0-0, these games against more defensive sides, and I think that's, especially with so much to play for, I don't think it's going to go off the rails at all. The next game we have is also we bet on Sunday here. We're talking a lot of Sunday games. Manchester United also fresh off a Europa League win. They're headed to the final. They're minus 110 to win, which is, I don't know. I don't agree with, but West Ham are plus 285. The draw is plus 265. So we're going to get a rotated Manchester United side. Basically how they've been looking in recent weeks. A lot of rotation. Maybe we'll get Garnacho or Bruno Fernandes in the starting 11. Maybe we'll get one of those guys. But otherwise, it's going to be a lot of youngsters. I think the lineup they put out last week against Brentford was the youngest combined age ever from a Premier League team. If I remember that stat correctly, I saw it early in the week. The youngest lineup ever. So it's like, I don't know how old Binder is, but so Lenny Euro, Harry Amas, Fredrickson, Kobe Mino. That lineup didn't include Christian Eriksen of note, Diallo, Obi Martin. So like all these like teenagers, sub 23-year-olds, basically. That's what we're looking at. And they're minus 110 to win, which again, I don't actually agree with. I know West Ham aren't good, but similar to that West Ham game last week, oddly, we're getting all these teams are playing Manchester United and Tottenham back to back late in the season, which I don't know what happened with the schedule makers in that, but similar to that game, I don't think either team is going to want to win. I think it's going to be like 1-1. I think it's going to be pretty safe. It's not going to be that exciting. This isn't going to be Manchester United Brentford. West Ham isn't going to want to get in a situation like that. West Ham aren't exciting. So I said, I told you before the show, I was like, I'm going to have some F-it bets. And the last one, over 3.5 goals, I could have gone higher. But this one, I'm just saying, you know what? I don't like either one of these teams. I don't think either one's going to win. Draw, plus 265. Let's go. We're cheering for the draw. I don't care if it's scoreless. What? I don't care if it's 1-1. We're going draw, plus 265. These teams are terrible. No one's winning.
Oh, my God. This is abysmal. We never bet draw like ever. That's on this show.
Let's go.
You were pumping this up to be like, I thought I was going to get something crazy, and it's blowing my mind that you bet a draw between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, who's winning? You don't know who's going to win. So.
Yeah, no, sure. I get the move here, I guess, but I don't think this might be a first ever on the show in 3 or 4 years here. So betting a draw plus 260. Great odds. Great odds. So sure.
This is my guarantee. Best bet of the season right here. Draw plus 265. I should have taken it last week against Tottenham.
This might get us closer to that even line for the year. So this is fun move.
Yeah, that's what we'll call it.
We're feeling the pressure of trying to get back to even for the year, which we're not too far from, but plus 265 will get you there quick.
Yeah, well, we're actually instead of going to Arsenal, Liverpool, we got to go to Leicester City, Nottingham Forest. We got to end with the champions as usual. We got to end with the champions of
the
Liverpool.
Lazy champions.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest minus 285 to win. Leicester City plus 750. This is another. I almost went to the F-it situation here and took Leicester City double chance, but I don't want to trust Leicester City, so I'm not actually going to bet that. But Nottingham Forest has been a thorn in my side all season. I was betting against them basically the first half of the season, and they just continued to churn out wins, even though they didn't play like the better team. And now the results are kind of going the other way, and I've still been losing bets because stupid things have been happening. What was their last game? They had, was it the 1-1 was their last game? Yeah, they came back against Crystal Palace is what it was. I did actually have under 2.5 in this game, so shouts to that bet. So I did actually hit one Nottingham Forest bet, but instead of Leicester City double chance, this is a situation. Leicester City, they got their win against Southampton. Van Nistelrooy came out today and was like, he basically called Southampton a rival because, those two teams are going to be relegated again. They were in the championship last season. They're going to be in the championship again. He's like, we got to win against our, I don't know, sub tier rival is what we'll call it. Championship level rival.
They're in purgatory between the two.
So that doesn't mean they're a good team. Okay. That doesn't mean they're a good team. So Nottingham Forest. Haven't been on many Nottingham Forest corner bets this season, but Nottingham Forest must-win situation. They need 3 points. Home against Leicester City, fighting for Champions League. I was going to be on Leicester City because Nottingham Forest have I think it's in their head right now. They're kind of falling apart. They're kind of turning into like late season Arsenal right now, where the pressure's on and they just aren't really performing. Is that going to be a factor against Leicester City? I don't know, but I think that they're going to be the better team overall. Nottingham Forest -1.5 corners in the first half, -115 odds. I know it's not as exciting as like a Leicester City double chance, but it's going a simple corner bet. -1.5 corners first half, -115.
What was the Leicester City double chance, like plus 200?
Yeah, it was almost like plus 250.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Forest should be able to put it's going to be weird because they depend so much on that like counterattacking style of like when the big teams come in and they just like bunker in, and then Morgan Gibbs White, they just are all of a sudden in the other team's final third, and Chris Wood is found in the back of the net. So this will be weird to see them play against a team where they should probably possess the ball a little bit more, but probably won't. So
yeah, I agree with that, and I usually go against it, which is why I was a little bit on Leicester City. But and then I started looking at Leicester's results, and I was like, this team isn't good. I cannot bet on this team.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And Forest have a lot to play, despite a couple hurdles here as the season goes, but they still have a lot to play for, so they got to have this one.
Yeah, we got a listener, Daryl. What's up, Daryl? We talked Ipswich Town and Brentford earlier in the show, so just rewind a little bit, or after we're done here, check out. We already gave a bet on that beautiful match, but thanks for joining us here as we're going. He missed us last week, yeah, Chris. We couldn't combine for a good time to do the show, so we had to pass, and we're back. The Business End boys are back, and you know what that means. We have Liverpool are at home against Arsenal. Look at this. Liverpool plus 105, Arsenal plus 260. I think we said before the show, this is the dumbest game of the weekend. It's impossible to bet. We don't know what kind of lineup Arsenal are going to put in after they were in Paris on Wednesday. Liverpool rotated. They were all drunk. They rotated the majority of their squad last weekend. We know Connor Bradley's going to start. Is it going to be a lot of these other guys starting again? Curtis Jones, Endo, Elliott, Konza. We don't know. We don't know what Slot wants to do here. So, Chris, how are we going to bet on this? Do you actually believe in Liverpool at plus 105 odds, given how they looked last week, I guess?
Yeah, no, not at all. As you saw, they got beat by Chelsea 3-1 last weekend. Didn't it look like they had been partying all week? In fact, it's a Slot shows up to the game. He's got stubble. His normally spit shine bald head has got a little stubble on it too. Like he couldn't care less. The boys looked like no one was locked in. No one cares if they were locked in. So yeah, that this, and then Arsenal here, they probably need one more point or one more to lock in Champions League. I don't think they're quite in. They've got a 7-point lead on I think it was Aston Villa at 60 points. So it is tighter than they probably preferred. So they gotta go out, and they still have something to play for. But I still expect to see some pretty good rotation here. Slot already said Connor Bradley's gonna start. I wouldn't be surprised to see Endo come back out. We're gonna keep putting Mo Salah out there on the right wing, but I don't know why. Get the guy. But I guess he's chasing the records.
Yeah, he's getting records.
So that's why. So, but yeah, we should just are we gonna get a Darwin Nunez start one of the? Anyways, the team will. Harvey Elliott's probably gonna start. We'll see a widely rotated team. I cannot, despite playing at Anfield, despite it being Arsenal, I cannot consciously take a plus 105 money line bet on Liverpool. So I had to really get creative with this one. Everything I looked at really sucked. Arsenal, we have no idea who we're going to get out there. Such an incredibly disappointing week for them. 5th straight season, no trophies for Arteta. So I think they're kind of going through it, but I had to get creative. I think both teams are I think Liverpool lead the league in corners 1. Arsenal's in 3rd, just a slight bit behind Liverpool and Tottenham. I think we see a heavily rotated Liverpool team, maybe even like some young cats, like some junior.
Oh, we're going to the cats now. We're going to the puppies.
Yeah, we're going to the kitties. And so I think we see a pretty heavy rotation. I think Arsenal will probably still play a pretty strong side here. And because of that, I expect them to have a bit more of the ball and to kind of push Liverpool from an attacking perspective. And I think Arsenal will have at least 5 corners, and I think they get to 5 corners first. It's plus 165. So Arsenal race to 5 corners plus 165. This is the best bet I could find for this game. I think the rest of them are like, you're like a psycho. So if you feel strongly about them.
To be fair, I pushed this bet on to Chris. I told him he had to take this game because it would feel wrong if we didn't talk about Liverpool Arsenal on the number 1 and number 2 team against each other here.
Yeah.
Would you say goals or no goals in this game?
I think it'll be sloppy. I think we'll see some goals.
Yeah, I think we'll see what this Arsenal 11 is going to look like. But, Liverpool are going to be celebrating. This is their I think they must have another game at Anfield. But I think Arteta is going to somehow motivate his team to be like, maybe things didn't go our way, but we can still win. We can still beat the champions at their home at Anfield. That's going to be the motivation. And I don't know.
They're going to win. I don't know if you saw 2 of his quotes from this week, but they're
the better team.
Yeah. He said we had more points last 2 seasons, which mathematically is not actually true. Like, they finished with, what was it, like 87 points?
Oh, talking Liverpool. Okay.
Yeah, Arsenal was like, Arteta was like saying some crazy stuff this week. And then after so he was talking about the league, and then after they lost PSG, he's like, we were the better team.
The PSG's a bench agreed with that.
He doubled down in 24 hours on not winning the competition, yet saying they were the best team, which is just like I don't know. That's certainly an approach to talking to the media, which it's tough to see.
This is a tough one. I'm a big mentality better, like reading how these teams play, but I can't really, go with a mentality bet without knowing what the lineup's actually going to look like. So
Arsenal's going to win at Anfield on Sunday, and then Arteta's going to be like, see, we should be champions. We're champions,
I think that's in range. We'll see what this group looks like. If it's not, I don't know. If it's not, I guess Jorginho's out. I don't even know. They don't have a massive bench. If it's like Zinchenko and Kieran Tierney and Nwaneri in there, then all bets are off. I'd probably go similar to that Chelsea game, just a little back and forth, goals for both sides. That's kind of what I would think, I guess.
I feel like it's going to be like 3-2 Arsenal.
Yeah. Something like that would make sense. Just a weird game to bet, but Chris, Arsenal race to 5 corners plus 165 odds. And before we go, Chris, you had a special Manchester City Southampton bet that you had ready to go before I told you what games to bet on, because we needed to talk on certain games. But so here's the cheat sheet. Again, Roto15, ROTO15, 15% off RotoWire. We got the FPL cheat sheet, has odds and stats and lineups for every team. Manchester City, the biggest favorite of the week. Surprisingly, Nottingham Forest actually had the best odds for a clean sheet. I'm just noticing that now, but you got your bet ready here that you had ready to give.
I mean, Man City playing Southampton. Southampton are one of the worst teams of all time in the league. I looked at either like a huge spread of like 3 goals for City, or I just looked at a lot of. So I think it was a spread of 2.5 was plus 115 for City. If you're going to do that, you might as well just take over 3.5 goals, because they're going to score like 4+ goals, I think, on Southampton. I got City over 3.5 goals at plus 155. It's going to be a bloodbath. Like, I think this could be like 5-0 for City once they get going. Haaland's got like some, going to find, or whoever it might be. Sorry. De Bruyne follows up last week's goal with another goal. I think this could be like a 5-0 5-1 win here for City. So just to double down on a huge favorite, just like you could even parlay it with a couple other things and get some pretty nice odds there. But that would be my one to take advantage of.
Yeah, I actually thought before last week, I thought Southampton was actually fighting in certain instances. They got the draw against West Ham. Got the opener against Fulham the week before, and then they're bad against Leicester City in Ruud van Nistelrooy's big rivalry game. So with that game, you just can't trust this Southampton team against a Man City team it seems like every season under Pep, they play their best at the end of the season. No matter what has happened, maybe they're not scoring a ton of goals lately, but they are playing better than they have at any point in the season. So, and at that point, like Chris says, just bet on Manchester City against a team that's is currently tied to be one of the worst teams ever in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But that's it. We got seven bets this week. Pretty soon, we're going to have 10 bets. 10 bets in game week 38. Sorry, 20 bets. Way up. 20 bets. 10 bets from each of us. I'm salivating just thinking about giving 10 winning bets. It's going to be a blast. But thank you everyone for listening. Good luck on your game week 36 bets. Again, check out rotowire.com/soccer for all of your betting, fantasy, any kind of needs like that. But Chris, thank you for joining me, and good luck. Hope everyone is ready for the draw to hit plus 265 Manchester United against West Ham. Lock it in.
Thanks, Adam.